Speaking of spooky Halloween monsters.
Yeah. So at a certain point during Haxon, I was like, is this the best movie we've watched for this show? Just because of like, on a technical perspective, it's really incredible. It is sort of like, it's just presenting a lot of really interesting ideas, and it's like narratively, like structurally, it's super interesting. And then I watched Nosferatu, and I was like, no, this is the best movie we've watched for this show.
Ooh.
Hot take: this movie rules.
It's real good. It's a great
Yeah.
movie.
Nosferatu, directed by Friedrich Wilhelm Murnau.
AKA FW Murnau.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's easily one of the most famous movies we've watched so far.
Mm-hmm.
I'd seen it. I think I had actually only seen it once before. Although the first time I saw this movie was at the Bardavon Theater in Poughkeepsie, which is an old theater with an organ in it. And so I saw this movie with a proper live organ score
Oof.
in a theater.
Oof.
It was, I think it might have been on Halloween also. It was
Oh.
perfect. It was, I could not have seen this movie under better circumstances. But I hadn't seen it since, I saw that probably when I was, I don't know, like 13 or 14.
Mm-hmm.
And hadn't seen it in full since then. And so I was still surprised by a lot of it because I didn't remember big chunks of it.
This movie is a definite banger, and like
Yeah.
it
This movie rips.
it flows really well from point to point. Like
Mhm.
it doesn't drag really. Like
Yeah.
it the spooky guy's real spooky, you know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tension in the movie. There's a lot of like really iconic imagery in the movie. It's just fun. It's fun and spooky. It's a great
Yeah.
Halloween time.
Yeah, one of my notes on it was I do feel like a lot of 1910s films feel kind of slapdash in their writing in terms of like the narrative structure of them, in terms of like
Mm-hmm.
the pacing, all that kind of stuff. And maybe it's because this is based on a book, but I feel like the narrative of it holds together really well in a way that feels distinct. Like this movie tells a story better than most movies that we've watched up till this point.
Yeah. Especially like it's doing like at the beginning of the movie, I think it does this really like good trick of the main character Hutter is a real kind of happy-go-lucky dimwit, and and like the beginning of the movie is drawing a contrast between the like that and the horrors that come later by like really like indulging in him just like frolicking in the woods or whatever.
Yeah.
And but like while he's frolicking, it's like talking about vampires enough that like there's like a sense of dread.
Yeah,
But
there's an ominousness hanging over it.
yeah.
So
And so yeah, it's really good. Really good contrast.
Before we get into like the meat of it, I feel like let's talk about a little bit of kind of the backstory, I guess, of this movie. It was produced by a production company called Prana Films in Germany. They made one movie, this one. And I think one of the main reasons for that was because this movie is an adaptation of the novel Dracula, with all the names changed. Dracula was never copywritten in the UK, so it was public domain, or at least their argument was it was public domain when they made this movie. But when it came out, Bram Stoker's widow, Florence, sued Prana Films because she said that they had stolen the intellectual property or whatever, and effectively put them out of business. And then, because of the lawsuit, one of the sort of results of the lawsuit was that the film had to be destroyed. All copies of it had to be destroyed, which thankfully didn't happen because enough copies existed by that point that people were just like, nope, we're keeping this.
Yeah.
But so this is, I think you can't really say that this is either the first vampire movie or the first Dracula movie, because there was a lost film from 1921 from Hungary called The Death of Dracula. That is not really an adaptation of Dracula, as far as I can tell, having not seen it, because it doesn't exist anymore. But it's kind of arguable whether or not that movie is either a Dracula movie or really a vampire movie.
We've
But
definitely
it
seen
has
vampires before.
like proper vampires like this. I mean, we've seen sexy ladies in like bat costumes.
We've also seen spooky guys turn into bats.
True. Yeah. Melier's had a lot of spooky imagery he can kind of lay claim to.
Yeah.
But in terms of all of the sort of conventions of a vampire movie, this basically hits every single one of them.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it's been a while since I've seen the Coppola Dracula movie, so I'm not like I don't know exactly, and I haven't read the book, so I don't know exactly how well this follows the story, but it is very much a guy goes into a vampire castle, gets spooked out, and then gets bit kind of situation.
Yeah, I also have not read the book Dracula by Bram Stoker, but I have seen the Coppola movie, which is, I think, or at least sort of markets itself as the closest adaptation of it. And I feel like this follows the book pretty closely up until the end, at least. I mean, the idea of like a real estate guy who goes to Transylvania to meet an old count and gets trapped in his castle, and then the count comes to, his home country, England in the novel, Germany in this, and sort of sets up shop in a new place, and then kind of seduces his wife.
Your wife has a lovely neck.
Yeah. And then gets killed at the end. Like, that is... The broad strokes are exactly the same as Dracula, but there's a lot of... The details of a lot of it are changed.
This movie I saw... This is like a properly spooky movie.
Yeah.
And I saw this a few months ago with a live score, and I was so furious with it because...
Oh, yeah. You've told me this story, but tell it for the show.
So they were playing it around Halloween, and they just like completely disrespected this movie. And I talked to them afterwards, and they said that they thought that it was campy, basically, or like corny or whatever. And so they would, in the soundtrack, add in a lot of like goofy sound effects.
There slide whistles and stuff.
Yeah, I think even a slide whistle at a point. It was like, it was so weird. Like there was parts of the music that were genuinely spooky, but they would undercut it. They wouldn't allow the audience to take it seriously, so people were laughing the entire time. So there were points where there are like effect shots where they use like they undercrank the camera so that Nosferatu's carriage like moves in a kind of strange fast motion, which is supposed to be spooky, and they just like play a doop 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 doop. It was it goes to show that like these movies, you can like use them as a canvas in a lot of ways, and I don't know if it's necessarily a bad thing to do something counter to the movie with that canvas. I could see like a critical score being applied to Birth of a Nation, for example, but when you're watching a silent movie, this and the kind of score for Hexen, you're kind of at the mercy of whoever is writing it, and a lot of the tone of the movie can be defined by that score, even though it's not in control of it.
I mean, the version of it that we watched, which is the Kino release, I think, right?
Yeah.
The Blu-ray, I think has a good score, which I think is the original score written for it, or used for it. Yeah, that is annoying and sucks that happened. I think this movie is genuinely very creepy at times.
Yeah.
I do think there are a lot of things that kind of seem quaint now to modern eyes, but were pretty I don't know if lavish is the right word in 1922, but like, yeah, there's a lot of effect stuff that is like, kind of crude stop motion or undercranking, things like that. But I think there's enough different techniques being used at any point that it helps sort of hide some of the seams.
Mm-hmm.
Hexen did a lot of that too. Hexen has like stop motion, it has like double exposure, it has like costumes, it has like forced perspective, it has all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
As does the I mean, I think they're similar movies in terms of their like effects techniques and some of their imagery, right? Like the devil in Hexen has like the long clawed fingers. So does Count Orlok in this movie. Very famously, he's got his big fingernails. Um, yeah, there's like tons of just iconic images of silent film in this. Of like,
Yeah, cool shots of like, Orlok creeping up on Hutter, and then
mm-hmm.
you see his silhouette in shadow.
Ugh,
Really, really iconic scene. Super cool shot. Uh,
amazing shadow work in this movie.
yeah,
Like
totally.
silhouette, like projected shadows. There's an amazing shot of just the shadow of Count Orlok reaching out towards a door, and his fingers seem to elongate as they like the shadow kind of crosses over the wall. Um, and it's like super simple, just figuring out like from the right angle, if we light this right, we can make this shadow of his fingers look super big and long and
Yeah,
creepy.
it's
And it's
cinema.
like, yeah, it works really well. I do think kind of the edge that makes me think that Nosferatu is the better film over Hexen is it feels kind of more purely cinematic.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I think one of the really interesting things about Hexen is the way that it plays with form and the fact that it does have this sort of academic quality to it. This movie is just so good at using like film language, that I think it gives it kind of the edge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's just a really creepy. I mean, some stuff is just inherently like the idea of a ship showing up to port and everyone on board is dead and no one knows why. It's just inherently a really creepy idea.
Yeah, it's awesome. Full of plague
Um,
rats too.
yeah, a lot of plague stuff in this movie. My sort of big take on this movie, I guess we'll get into that, is that this movie is, I don't know if it's that big a take that this movie is about the idea of like disease,
Hmm.
but I think specifically just the time it was made, I think feels very significant. That like there had just been this sort of global epidemic or pandemic of influenza, right? So there was like the idea of like spreading disease through travel was
Hmm.
a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then also like tuberculosis was still a big thing. Um and there was in sort of just reading about that, um a thing that had just sort of started after World War One was using heliotherapy, or just like using sunlight or UV rays to treat different types of tuberculosis or lupus and things like that, was a sort of growing trend. So there was already this thing of like sunlight killing disease that I think is, and it's like right around the same time as this movie came out. So I'm like, there's, to me, that seems like a pretty obvious connection. That like that is one of the sort of big thematic things of this movie. But maybe it's coincidence. I don't know.
Um, it's hard to know what to say about this movie because it's just like good. It's just like
Right. Yeah.
real solid. Uh,
There's, I don't know. I can just name a bunch of cool things in it that I liked.
do it.
Uh, I think Count Orlok is probably the scariest character in film that we've encountered thus far.
Hmm.
That's my other big take on this movie, is that Count Orlok is genuinely very scary. Not just because of Max Schreck's performance. Max Schreck, the actor, plays Count Orlok, whose name is reused as Christopher Walken's character in Batman Returns. But it's, he's got the iconic sort of bald head, like, two front sharp vampire teeth thing with the hands, and, it's a very iconic performance of a vampire. And,
Mm-hmm.
like, even that, like, vampire design, I still feel like pops up everywhere in, like, What We Do in the Shadows, or Buffy the Vampire Slayer, or Salem's Lot. Like,
Vampire
the,
the Masquerade.
yeah. Exactly. Um, But just the this movie really kind of hammers home the idea that like he doesn't even need to be near you to like get you, right? So like the character of Knock, who is sort of loosely based on Renfield from the original Dracula story, is like he's just a guy living in Germany. He never even really meets Orlok, and he still is like driven insane, just like through, you know, hypnosis or whatever, like the weird vampire powers.
Yeah, there's all of this like stuff of like these weird like psychic connections,
Mm-hmm.
or like visions that people have that are just anyone who is involved in the influence of Orlok like starts having these like nightmarish visions, and sometimes their mind goes
Yeah,
away.
like you really feel that Orlok is like a presence, even more so than like an individual creature or person.
Hmm.
Like, um, another thing that is really great, we until like the very end, we never see him like attack or kill anyone. We just see bodies piling up. Like, so like he's getting transported from Transylvania to Germany on a ship, and it's like we see him like come out of his coffin on the ship, but then it's just like the next time we see the ship, everyone's dead, and it's
Hmm.
and then he arrives in the fictional town of Visburg in Germany, and it's like people just start dying, and we start seeing like houses being marked with a cross of like there's disease here, or there's a great shot of uh, was it Ellen, who's the sort of Mina Harker character, looking out her window at a bunch of coffins that are being carried down the street. Um, that is, we just see like all this sort of like death and disease being spread around. Um, and it's enough just to know that like Orlok is there. Like we know he's behind it, but it's just like we're just seeing like the after effects of his, you know, vampire hijinks. And then yeah, there's like I feel like just the way that he's shot and framed is really well done, really creepy. There's a shot that genuinely made me like shudder. That is towards the end when he's feeding on Ellen, and he's like bent over her with this, you know, biting her neck, and it's like it's really dark. Like there's shadows all over the place. You really can just kind of see his eyes and like a little bit of like the silhouette of him, like hunched over her on the bed, and it's so creepy. It's like it's such like a classic like vampire image too.
Hmm. Yeah, this movie's awesome for sure.
Yeah, Nosferatu.
Nosferatu.
It's great.
Nosferatu.
Yeah, a lot of people, not me, but I know a lot of people our age only know about this movie because of SpongeBob. It's very funny.
Yes, and portrays Orlok as a silly scamp who
Yeah.
likes to flick light switches.
Also, whose name is Nosferatu?
I think his name is Sferatu, and they're saying no,
Oh.
comma Sferatu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See that? Yeah, that makes sense. Um, I did a bit of research about F.W. Murnau because I didn't know that much about him, like as a person.
Hmm.
He's another German director who fought in World War I and was haunted by it. It's a lot of themes of like death in his films. Um, what I didn't realize that he actually so he moved to Hollywood in 1926. Made Sunrise, one of the first movies to win a Best Picture Oscar. There were two, that and Wings both won like separate Best Picture awards that in 27. I didn't realize he died in 1931 in a car accident.
Oh wow.
And another just weird thing about it is in 2015, someone broke into his grave and stole his skull. So his skull is missing. Someone has
Witches.
his skull somewhere. Maybe.
Someone's trying to summon Nosferatu.
Apparently there was like they found like candle wax in his like near the like his desecrated tomb. So yeah, there was some kind of
Oh
likely
man,
ritualistic reasoning behind it.
that's sick.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
That's kind of cool though.
Because yeah, I was like, I like any German filmmaker from the 1920s. I'm like, what did he do later?
You don't have to find out.
Don't have to find out, but also like he seems like maybe the clearest case of someone who would have been super anti-fascist. He was like a big lefty in Weimar era Germany. So, as was Lotte Reniger, who
Yes.
fled Germany, and was also, I think, pretty vehemently anti-fascist as well.
And they only just got the word for that because fascism just started this year.
There you go.
Uh,
Yeah.
right.
Anything else to say about Nosferatu?
I don't. No. It's spooky.
It's good.
and
Watch
cool.
it.
Yes. Go watch Nosferatu.
Yeah. It is maybe my favorite movie that we've watched on like this whole show.